Hello, my name's David Lorimer. I'm the program director of the Scientific and Medical Network, and I'm here with my old friend, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, who's one of our speakers at Beyond the Brain. And he's going to be talking about different ways in which minds extend beyond brains. And he's been using the term the extended mind for some time. Rupert, how did you first become interested in the possibility of mind beyond the brain?
I think through the sense of being stared at, because the when we look at something, the question is where are the images, and the normal view is it's all inside the head. I think that we project them out to where they seem to be. So as I see your image now, it's where it seems to be on my computer screen, not inside my head. And when I thought of that, which I really thought about principally through reading Henri Bergson, the philosopher we've discussed before many times, in fact. He says the image is where it seems to be. And when I thought about that, I realized it's on one hand incredibly simple, on the other hand, it's profound in its implications. And when we project out images, I think we affect what we look at, which is why I'm interested in the sense of being stared at. That's what got me interested in the first place. I then moved on to being interested in telepathy because I thought my ideas about social fields, morphic fields of social groups, would actually predict telepathy. And sure enough, there it is happening all over the place. So those were the two things that got me into this range of realm of interest.
Very, very interesting, Rupert. And then what are you going to be talking about more specifically at the conference?
Well, I've talked about the extended mind many times. I first used the phrase, I think, in my book, Seven Experiments That Could Change the World, 1994. But I haven't actually classified before. It's only recently it's become clear to me there are several different ways in which minds are extended beyond brains. There's a kind of trivial way, well, it's not trivial, but it's one that's uncontroversial, that our minds affect the world we live in. Everything we see around us, buildings, artifacts, machinery, diaries, books, all of these are products of our minds and they're in the external world. They extend beyond brains. When we talk, our ideas that are conveyed by our speech or the information in our speech enter someone else's mind, and in that sense, they're extended. So that's uncontroversial, and so I mentioned that. But then they're extended through vision, and as I just mentioned, and I think that the minds are closely coupled to light. This is a conclusion I've come to quite recently through detailed research on scopaesthesia. It's not just seeing an image of someone, the direct physical coupling through light is essential. So it doesn't work as well, or maybe hardly at all, when you look at a person's image on the screen. It doesn't work very well through mirrors. It's the direct coupling through direct light. There's a second way in which minds are extended over and above that everyone agreed about, extended minds, with stuff and language. The second way is through telepathy, the way our intentions affect others. And that happens with animals and with people. Um, then there's another way in which minds are extended, which is the sense of direction in animals, the way that pigeons are linked to their home. Now, this is very mysterious. Animals have a very strong sense of direction as revealed in migration, and this is a directional extension of the mind. So it's different from telepathy in the sense of being stared at. And then finally, there's a way in which our minds link to forms of consciousness greater than the human level, as in mystical experiences, for example, where we feel ourselves part of a greater mind or presence or consciousness. So that's another kind of extension. So what I'm going to do is try and shed a bit more light on these different types of extension of the mind beyond the brain.
Fascinating range, Rupert, and profoundly original. And then I gather from our conversation before we started recording that your book, The Science Delusion, has just been published in Chinese. This seems rather a strategic adventure.
Yes, it's just been published in by a mainstream publisher in Beijing, and some of my Chinese friends said this book would never be published in China because it's too contrary to the materialist ideology of the ruling party. Um, However, they also have an agenda, or some people in the Chinese leadership have an agenda to try and reinstate traditional Chinese philosophy, Confucianism, and to some degree Taoism. And to do that, they have to liberate Chinese thought from the stranglehold of Western reductive materialism, which is very important in China because it underpins their huge scientific and industrial effort. So my book is seen, they seem to have weaponized it as a way of promoting this Chinese return, a kind of Chinese, not exactly nationalism, but return of Chinese culture and Chinese understanding, and freeing or liberating science to some degree from the dominance of Western thought. Now, if it serves that purpose, I'd be very pleased and happy because I think it's very necessary. And it would be a wonderful thing if Chinese science took on a much more holistic aspect in which they could lead the world. And it would be good for them, and I think it would also be good for us.
Well, quite fascinating, Rupert, and we look forward to an update on that and to seeing you at this year's Beyond the Brain. Thanks so much.
Thanks, David.